What kind of husband sells the family home without even telling his wife? I thought I was just making a joke when I laughed that my ex could teach him how to please me better. But now the for sale sign is up, and I'm the one everyone is blaming. My name is Isolde Wren. I'm 33, and I work as a medical billing clerk. People say it's boring, but honestly, I like being the one who can fix mistakes and make numbers line up. At home, though, I'm the one who gets judged no matter what I do. My husband Dorian is a history teacher, and everyone acts like he's some saint just because he comes home with papers to grade instead of lipstick on his shirt. We've been married 10 years, and to outsiders we look stable. 2 kids, decent house, normal life. But the truth? I've been restless for years. Dorian is dependable, sure, but also predictable, dull, and frankly disappointing. I keep telling myself it's not wrong to want more. I deserve excitement. I deserve to feel alive. That's where Callum Wade comes in. He's my ex, but we still talk sometimes. He's charming in ways Dorian never learned. And honestly, when Callum flirts, I feel like myself again. Not just a mom, not just a wife stuck in routines. People would call it dangerous, but I call it balance. My mother, Marion, says I just have a strong personality, and that Dorian should appreciate a wife who doesn't sit quiet. My sister Ivy, on the other hand, calls me selfish to my face. Maybe she's jealous. Everyone always says I twist things to my advantage, but the way I see it, I only tell the truth others are afraid to say. I know people will judge me for what happened, but let's be clear. I didn't mean to destroy my marriage with a laugh and a single cruel joke. I thought I was being funny. I thought he'd get over it. Instead, he started plotting behind my back. We were sitting at the long dining table, my mother, my sister Ivy, Dorian, the kids, and me. Dinner had been quiet until the conversation turned to old memories. I don't know why, but I laughed and said that my ex Callum could probably teach Dorian a thing or two about how to please me. The words came out sharp, and everyone heard them. Theo put down his fork and asked what I meant. Leah stared wide-eyed at her plate. Ivy glared at me, saying it was cruel. I rolled my eyes and told her it was just a harmless joke, that Dorian needed to loosen up. My mother Marion chuckled and said I always had a playful tongue, trying to smooth things over. Dorian didn't say a word. He just sat there, cutting his meat slowly like nothing had happened. That silence made me uncomfortable, so I doubled down, adding that at least Callum had known how to make me feel alive. Marion laughed again, but Ivy pushed her chair back, disgusted. Theo whispered if Mummy really liked another man more. Dorian set down his knife, folded his napkin, and quietly excused himself from the table without looking at me. At work the next week, Callum stopped by for lunch. He leaned on my desk, casual and confident, and we ate together in the break room. A few co-workers whispered, and I caught one giving me a knowing look. I brushed it off. Why should I care what they think? It felt good to have attention from someone who actually noticed me. That evening, Dorian asked if Callum had been around. His tone was calm but sharp underneath. I told him he was paranoid, that he should be glad other men still found me attractive. He said people were talking, that it embarrassed him. I shrugged and said if he was secure, he wouldn't mind. Later, at a family dinner, my sister-in-law Daniela pressed me, saying I was playing with fire. I smirked and said maybe she was just jealous that no one flirted with her anymore. Marianne jumped in to defend me, calling it harmless. Dorian sat there quiet, staring at his glass. I laughed too loudly and said Callum always knew how to make me feel alive. Maybe some people just never learn. Daniela slammed her fork down, and Ivy shook her head. Dorian didn't speak a word. We went out to a family restaurant the following weekend. The kids were with us, along with a couple of friends. I was in one of my moods, wanting to be the center of attention. So I started teasing Dorian, calling him boring, saying he never did anything exciting. Everyone laughed politely, but I pushed harder. I said Callum had always known how to keep life thrilling, unlike some people. The table went quiet. Theo froze mid-bite, his little eyes darting between us. Leah leaned into Marion, asking if Daddy wasn't good enough. Marion patted her head and told her not to listen, but I could see Gareth scowling from across the table. Ivy muttered that I should be ashamed, which only made me roll my eyes. I told them it was just humour, that people were too sensitive. I added that if Dorian had more spark, maybe I wouldn't need to joke at all. That got a few awkward chuckles, but no one looked comfortable. I noticed then that Dorian had his phone under the table. His face gave nothing away, but his thumb moved steadily across the screen. Recording. He was actually recording me. Back at home a week later, things felt different. Dorian moved around the house like a shadow, calm but distant. He spent evenings at the desk with stacks of papers I knew weren't schoolwork. Once, I spotted an envelope from a law office, the word custody bold at the top. I laughed it off, telling myself he was bluffing. I tried to provoke him, asking why he wasn't fighting for me, why he didn't try harder to make me feel wanted. He barely looked up, just said he was busy. That silence made me angrier than shouting ever would. I told Marion he was punishing me for having a personality. She agreed, saying Dorian was too stiff and needed to loosen up. But Ivy confronted me directly, calling me selfish and cruel. I told her she was bitter and lonely, lashing out because no man wanted her. The kids noticed too. Theo asked why Daddy was always in the study. I told him Daddy just needed space, but even I could hear the unease in my voice. That night, I caught Dorian closing his laptop quickly when I entered the room. He smiled politely, then locked the screen. Dorian finally spoke one morning, his voice steady. He said he had meetings to attend. I thought it was school-related until I saw the same law office envelope left on the counter. My stomach dropped, but I forced myself to act smug. I told him he was making a fool of himself, ruining a marriage over pride. He didn't answer, just grabbed his jacket and left. That afternoon, Daniela called me. She said Dorian was doing the right thing, protecting the kids and himself. I snapped back that she was just meddling, but her words shook me. Later, Marion came over, insisting Dorian was overreacting and that men always calm down if you hold your ground. By the weekend, I stepped outside and froze. A realtor sign was planted in our yard. Our house, my house, was on the market, and I hadn't even been told. I stormed inside, demanding answers. Dorian stayed calm, saying everything was already in motion. I shouted that he couldn't sell the place without me. He replied softly that the papers had already been filed, that I would see them soon enough. His calmness terrified me more than anger ever could. We sat across from each other in the mediation room, a lawyer on his side, a mediator between us. Dorian looked collected, almost cold, while I felt my chest burning. He slid a folder across the table. Divorce papers, financial separation, custody agreements. My hands shook as I flipped through them. I said he was hiding behind lawyers instead of fighting for our marriage. He told me it wasn't about fighting. It was about protecting the children and himself. His words cut deeper than shouting ever could. Theo and Leah had been waiting outside with Marion. When they came in after the meeting, Leah clung to Dorian's arm, and Theo asked if we were really selling the house. I couldn't answer. Marion tried to comfort me, insisting we could fix this, but Dorian stood firm. Gareth shook his hand, proud of him. The mediator's voice was calm as she summarized. The house would be sold, custody split, assets divided. I felt the walls close in, the life I thought I controlled slipping through my fingers. Dorian signed the documents with steady hands. I sat frozen, pen untouched, realizing it was already over. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Write in the comments from which city you are watching.